Peter, let's go over your paper. It's starting to look like a research paper now, and you've made some very good improvements. Just a few things, and I'm going to go ahead and put on track changes. The first one, usually around this time, the steer sold in an auction. The steer is sold in an auction. Many farmers woven wire and stout wood post would stand up to the enormous weight of 1-ton steer. I'm guessing it's many farmers use woven wire and stout wood posts which would stand up to the enormous weight of a 1-ton steer. Right here, 2 acres. Whenever we start a sentence with a number, we spell it out. 2 acres can sustain 1 steer in good weather as well a climate. Not sure here. So I guess you'll just have to fix this. Next page. So they're little things, but that's why it's always helpful to have someone read it, and that's what I'm doing for you, just helping you clean it up a little bit. After 4 to 8 weeks, the heifer is weaned for milk, after which the heifer lives, and I'm betting this is supposed to be on hay and grain for 6 months. When around 2 years old, the cow has her first calf for the first time. So the cow has her first calf for the first time. That's redundant, so let's just delete it. When around 2 years old, the cow has her first calf and begins producing milk. Than's the comparison. Farming produces many jobs for Americans as well as produces a large amount of blank for the rest of the world. I'm guessing you want to put food here. Corn is USA's largest produce that is farmed, which is 32% of the world's. We've got 2 nouns together, so one has to possess the other, and I'm guessing we're talking about one world, which is 32% of the world's corn is farmed in the U.S. Corn is the USA's largest produce that is farmed. And I know you're trying to use the who, which here, but it's making it sound strange. Corn is the USA's largest produce that is farmed and accounts for 32% of the world's corn. Over 400,000 farms in the U.S. produce corn, which, how about let's just say, which covers more than 6 million acres of America. Soybean also covers around 6 million acres as well as harvesting around 3.06 million bushels harvest in a year. So here, soybean also covers around 6 million acres as well as harvesting around 3.06 million bushels of soybean. Soybean also covers around 6 million acres as well as harvesting around 3.2 million bushels of soybean. I'm not sure what you're trying to say there, so we'll just fix it. The next one, USA's. The U.S. is the prevalent supplier of soybean as well. USA's hay harvest is around 55.7 million acres, and hay farmers gain, and I'm guessing you meant that to be around $6.7 billion. Cotton farms in the U.S. produce around 9.5 million acres of cotton, which brings in about and around are the same. It's redundant, so let's just delete one. It brings in about $8.3 billion. Sorghum, which is a grain, is produced on about 3.9 million acres. Sorghum also makes about $3.9 million. Okay, okay. Your citations look good. This for the MLA style is works cited. You've got your hanging indent. Everything looks really good about that. So just a little bit of cleaning up to do on that. And for our next step, we're going to add our introduction and conclusion. And let's just go over the steps for research writing. Okay, the first thing you're going to do, let's see if I can find my pen here. I think I have it upside down. Just a second. Nope, I don't. Let me just type. I'm not sure I can type as fast as I can write. The steps for a research paper. And you'll be using these again when we do a different type of research paper. Is first you got to pick your topic. And then you need to narrow your topic. Usually 2-3 topics. You got to think about your audience or choose your audience. And for this research paper, we're just assuming that it's other high school students. Number 4, you have to do your research and find your sources. Once you've done your research, you do your outlines for each topic. And then you write it. You write the body paragraphs. That's where we're at. And then you add your intro and conclusion. And, well, actually, after you did the body paragraphs, I had you do the formatting. And the formatting, we're using the MLA style. In another class, a teacher might have you use a different style, but you can always look up the formatting required. And the formatting is double-spaced, font size, margins, running heads, MLA header. You add your introduction and conclusion, and then you add your transitions, and you're done. And when you're writing your body paragraph, you write it and you dress it up. So those are our steps, and we are right. You've already written your body paragraphs, you've used your dress ups, you've formatted. We're going to add an introduction and a conclusion. So that's where we're at. Let me see if I can get my pen to work now. I can't. Wonder if I could use this. Oh, I can use my mouse. It may not be very good, but remember, I probably showed you this earlier. An introduction is going to look like this, where you're going to start very general. Oh, that's very hard to write. And go to specific. And the conclusion is going to be exactly the opposite. You're going to start specific and you're going to end general. And I want you to work on having 5 to 7 sentences in your introduction and your conclusion. So the intro is general to specific, and the conclusion is specific to general. And let me go back to your paper, and I'm going to help you get started. So I'm just going to start with an intro here. Let me go up a page. When you start with an intro, we want to go as general as we can. And see, this is a nice general topic sentence that began your sentence. America known for loving burgers. That's nice and broad. And we want to start our paper off very broad too. Americans are well fed. Okay, so now then we want to go down a little bit narrower. Maybe we could even go broader. The world. Nah, I like Americans better. And of course you can do whatever you want to do. Americans are well fed. Mostly, people never think about how the food they eat gets to their dinner tables. Okay, so now I went from Americans down to their dinner tables. In homes across the nation, people will sit down to enjoy, and I don't know, you could enjoy roast or whatever. And then you're going to try to keep narrowing it down. You start with something very broad, and then your last sentence is your thesis statement. And I'm just going to write thesis statement just so you'll remember, not because I want you to write thesis statement. So your thesis statement is going to tell your reader that the first paragraph's about beef, the second paragraph's about milk, and the third paragraph's about grains. And we might just say most meals consist of meat, milk, and grains. Or most people consume meat, milk, and grains each week. Never considering I'm trying to get into this burgers thing. Most people consume meat, milk, and grains each week. Or we could say something about when someone eats a hamburger, they're consuming meat. A cheeseburger, we'd have to say cheeseburger, meat, milk, and grains. But what you want to do is you want this last sentence, your thesis statement, to tell the readers that the first paragraph is going to be about meat, the next paragraph is going to be about milk, and the last paragraph is going to be about grains. Most people consume meat, milk, and grains each week. How about right in here, the typical cheeseburger is not so typical in that it requires many man hours I guess it's supposed to be 2 words. Man hours and skills to bring it to the table. Most people consume meat, milk, grain each week, never considering the process. Okay, and so then we go into meat, milk, and grains. and this is just off the top of my head. I know you're going to be able to do a better job, but your thesis statement is your last statement. Okay, it is your last statement. It is, I thought I copied and pasted this. It is basically a sign to your reader to tell them what's coming up. And I want you to work on having 5 to 7 sentences here and ending with your thesis. Now we take our thesis and we use that to write our conclusion. So we take our thesis and we put it down here. So our conclusion starts with our thesis, but we change it up a little bit so it's not exactly the same. Meat, milk, and grains provide nutrition to Americans each day okay. So I wanted to restate what I said, and then your first sentence after that is you're going to do a summary sentence about the meat paragraph. Just one point you want the reader to remember. And then the next sentence is a summary sentence about the milk, the one thing you want the reader to remember. And then you write a summary sentence about the grains. One thing, the most important thing you want your reader to remember. So in that point, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And actually, when you summarize meat, you might end up having 2 sentences. So that already gets us a good start. And then you want to go out and end with some general comments. And that is your conclusion. Of course, it won't look like that because your summary sentences are going to be much longer. But that's how a conclusion is written. You write down the key points you want the reader to remember about each of your topics, and then you summarize it with some general comments, and you get broader and more general. And so, you started out with Americans at the beginning. We said Americans are well fed. And I don't know, you could say something about how we are the best fed nation in the world or whatever. So you want to end as general as you started. It's kind of like when you watch a movie and the last scene sometimes shows them back at the beginning scene because they come full circle. That's what you're trying to do with this research essay also. So go ahead and make these changes. You've got it formatted right. Just keep that formatting going. Make the changes, add an introduction and conclusion, and we are almost done with this research paper. And hopefully you're learning the steps to writing a research paper. This doesn't, and these, it goes together. There's no break there. Learning the steps to writing a research paper, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. I can see improvement as you're working on this. It gets better each time I see it. And after this, we just have one more step. That's the end of the video.